everybody, welcome back to the Northern Life Museum and Cultural Center's YouTube channel. We have a special treat for you guys today. We're going to show you around our climate-controlled vault. So we have about 13,000 artifacts in our collection that we know of, and obviously they can't all be on display at the same time, so we keep most of the things that we can't have on display all the time, we keep back here in climate control. It is humidity and temperature controlled, which means it's nice and cool in here, and it's not too humid and it's not too dry, which helps maintain certain materials that might warp or expand or crack if they get too dry or too wet. So everything back here that needs to be taken special care of, this is where it lives. So let's have a little look around. We've got all kinds of stuff in here. Back in some of this corner, we got a few odds and ends. This is one of my favorite pieces of taxidermy that we have. This is a wolverine. He's not our best taxidermy, but it is very cool. It's the largest member of the Mustelidae family, which includes weasels, skunks, otters, and badgers, among others. So these are Inuit seal oil lamps. So you put your seal fat or fish oil down in here, and you would use something like cotton grass fluff to create a wick, and that was what you would use as your light source inside of your traditional shelter. So this one's, most of them are made of soapstone. They're low to the ground and they're quite heavy, so they're not going to tip over. You can even see where some of the bigger ones are sitting. They come in a variety of sizes, that the shelf is actually bending under the weight. This is how we store larger pieces of clothes. They go on a padded hanger, and then they have a cover over top to help keep the dust off. We've got all kinds of coats. I think this one is all bison, a bison coat. That'll keep you warm in the winter for sure. And then these are some of my favorites as well in our collection. These are mammoth bones from a woolly mammoth, probably from multiple woolly mammoths actually. So we have the famous tusk. This is just a partial tusk because the previous owners had an unfortunate habit of cutting pieces off for tourists. So it's not a complete mammoth tusk. And then we also have the teeth. So this is one of their chewing teeth. You can see where it sits in the gum of the mammoth, and then the top part is for grinding down all the plant matter they used to eat. So you'll see a lot of the Dr. Cass collection. Dr. Elizabeth Cass was an ophthalmologist who operated in the north for many, many years. And she was a beloved member of the community, which meant she was given a lot of gifts. And so when she passed away, her entire collection of gifts and all the records that she kept ended up with the museum. And we'll probably talk about her in a dedicated video at some point, because she was an amazing historical figure, especially for the North. She did a lot of great work. Let's pull out some of these drawers. This one's pretty cool. We've got a few different bags and purses. This one is made out of caribou shins. You can see the long pattern, long skinny pattern repeated, all sewn together. That's how you know they're made of caribou shins, because that's just the short skinny part of the leg. And then we have a bag made of black bear, and then this one's really special. This is a loon bag from the 1920s. There's not very many of them that were made, because making a bag out of an entire bird is not very practical. But you can see like all the spots, and you can see the way its neck would be curled around to help make this bag. It's the white belly. It's a very cool piece. We've got a few more. I think it's this one. Nope. This one. It's higher up. Here we go. We've got a few more bags. We've got birch bark. You can see some of the examples of the beading, which is continues to be a popular traditional craft up here. Some of the beadwork the folks do around here is absolutely beautiful. And then this one's a little unusual. This one is made of beaver feet. So you can see it's still got its toenails on, and it's two beaver feet sewn together. and then bound up with caribou hide around the top and embroidered. So this is Cam, one of our summer students. You want to help me pull out the big boy down here?
Sure. This one, right?
Yeah. So this one we love to show our visitors because it's so unusual, but it is a little bit awkward and it's too fragile to have out all the time. So this is our samurai armor, or at least our Japanese foot soldier's armor. I don't think it was for a full-blown samurai. It's kind of an unusual piece to have in a museum that's about northern culture, but what we believe happened according to our records is that a World War II veteran brought it back home to Fort Smith with him after he came back from overseas, and when he passed away, his family didn't want to keep it, so they donated it to a museum, and now here it is. It's not really relevant enough or sturdy enough for us to have it all the time, but we do love to show it to visitors, just because it's so cool. It's really cool. So it's important to keep as many artifacts in these boxes as possible, because that just helps keep the dust off. And as I mentioned in our previous video about the big clean, exposure to dust over a long period of time can actually cause damage to your artifacts. So having the dust adds another layer of protection to help keep your artifacts preserved as long as possible. So this is kind of neat. So we have all kinds of little sound equipments and recording players in here. This is a wax cylinder recorder and player. So your wax cylinders were the earliest form of audio recording that was developed. The cylinders didn't last very long. We don't have a lot of intact wax cylinder recordings now because you could only play them back so many times before the recording would be destroyed. They're quite fragile, and of course, because they're made of wax, if you kept them somewhere that was too hot, they would melt. But so like this was one of your earliest methods of recording audio before they started developing records and cassette tapes and eventually CDs, and yeah, it's pretty neat. And then we also have a dictaphone down here, which would also be record on a wax cylinder. You can see you'd fit the wax cylinder on the top here and speak into the little phone. We have a better one upstairs. But you'd speak into the little phone and it would record your voice, and your secretary or whoever could play it back later and write down their notes. We've got a little ice cream machine. This one's a small sized one. We have an industrial sized one out in our warehouse. But essentially, if you've ever made ice cream in a bag before, you put your ice cream ingredients, your cream and sugar and everything in this part, and then you would put your ice and rock salt in the outer part, and just churn the ice cream up until it freezes and thickens and is fully combined. And that's how you make ice cream. You can do it in a set of 2 plastic bags, but this would make it much easier to churn it for long enough in order to get it to thicken and set. So we've got some more odds and ends back here. We've got a wolf rug, although he looks very sad. I probably would also be sad if I was made into a rug, but it does give you a good idea of just how big a wolf can be. We've got a few different telephones, and then we've got these are pretty neat. These are pre-contact stone tools. So this is a hammer, the head of a hammer, and you can see the groove carved out in the middle there, and that would be where you would wrap your strap around to fix it to like a wood or bone handle, and that was how you made your hammers. And then we have all kinds of taxidermy birds on these shelves, as well as a few other things. This is a whooping crane egg. So the interesting thing about eggs is that you can preserve them long term by just poking a hole in each end and then blowing the yolk out of the other end. And so that's what a whooping crane's egg looks like. You can see where the hole where they've blown the yolk out. And then the eggshell will keep basically forever. But they have that beautiful sort of gray and blue coloration with the brown speckles. Yeah, whooping cranes are very large, so they have to nest on the ground, which means they have to protect their eggs any way they can. So typically they nest on islands and isolated riverbanks where predators are going to be less likely to catch them, and of course they have the camouflage eggs as well. You have to be very careful with these because they are eggs from an critically endangered species. And getting additional samples of them would require a lot of paperwork. So a lot of these artifacts we've had for a very long time. We're actually coming up on our 50th anniversary in a couple of years. The artifacts themselves, they started collecting in the 60s, but then they built this museum in the 1970s, and then this room would have been an add-on later on, because as a museum collection grows and a museum is able to get funding, you need to be able to build more storage space. And as you can see, we are pretty much full of artifacts from floor to ceiling in here. And this is just one of our storage rooms. It's one of the biggest things museums struggle with, is having enough storage space. And of course, having enough volunteer time to even take care of this collection. Volunteer at your local museum. Thanks for watching. And thanks to two of our summer students for giving us a hand with the filming today. Like, subscribe. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. And we make a video about the stuff we do at the museum every other Friday. So make sure to ring the bell so you get notified when we put up new videos. So thanks, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.